So as many of you guys know, I teach principles of art making, and one of the overarching ideas that that I sort of like hold all this art making stuff together with is this idea of differences. Putting things together that are different is exciting and it makes you feel alive. And whether it's, you know, a big shape in your work or a small shape, or, you know, saturated color and not saturated color, and realism with abstraction, and all, you know, spontaneity and control. And that seemed fairly obvious early on. I was like, well, I was kind of working with those things. But then, you know, I kept kind of working away, but then I realized there's one that actually is so important to have in the work, you know. I used to think it was color. I used to think that like that was the most important thing, or value contrast is the most important thing. And I don't think it is anymore. And this is kind of just another way of thinking about it, but I've noticed the improvement in my work, I believe, has come from this awareness of this difference. And it has to do with vulnerability. Because vulnerability comes up when you don't know what you're doing exactly, right? It's like, I need to feel that way for some of the time when I'm working. Because if I don't, that just means I'm kind of doing the, you know, swan dives off the low board all the time. We want to be pushing, we want to be walking into terrain, at least a little bit, of an area that we don't know, that is new to us, that's foreign. When we do that, because we've never done it before, there's authenticity really improves. I mean, all we can be is ourselves in that situation. We haven't established any habits, we don't look good doing it, and it's you can feel it. You can feel it in yourself, certainly, when you're doing this work, but I think people can feel it in when they look at your work too. The opposite of this not knowing is knowing, is being super bold, super confident, knowing what you're doing, making marks, and being, you know, all the things that's powerful and you know, that you're moving towards. But it looks so good when you're willing to show part of yourself, or marks that are more tentative, that you don't know, that you're just trying out for the first time. It's that realism, it's that groundedness of yourself and the full spectrum of yourself, that when you bring all of yourself, even the shadowy kind of parts you're not so sure about, when that comes into the work, it makes it even better. And guess what? That's more real. And that's why people connect to it. That's why you can sell work like that. People might not ever talk about this. Your buyers probably will never think this way, but we need to understand this. We need to, this is a thing. This is something that draws people into your work and they connect to it. So this is a big difference. Knowing what you're doing and not knowing what you're doing. Confidence, insecurity, vulnerability, big ego. No, you know, it's like, you don't want just one. I mean, being a big, bold ego guy like that, you can never make great art. You need the other part that grounds you, and that's the best thing. You need the combination of those things. So anyway, this is a big deal, and it's something that I go into a little bit more detail. In this week's podcast coming out, I'm just talking about this, and I think it's important. So check that out. There's a link down below if you want to subscribe to the Art to Life podcast, and leave a note in the comments. Are you aware of this? Do you deliberately leave and let marks show that you don't know what you're doing, that are more tentative? Is this a thing for you? I'd love to know. Okay, enjoy your Sunday, and I will talk to you soon. Okay, thanks. Hey everyone, if you found this helpful, I have a whole lot more to teach, share, and inspire you with every single week. So please join the Art to Life YouTube channel by clicking the subscribe button below. Okay, great. Let's do this.